We want to go to Midtown right now.
That's where Donald Trump is making a campaign stop on Park Avenue. Let's get right to Robert Moses. He is live there this morning.
Tashani and Dan, former President Donald Trump just pulled up here outside the future headquarters of J.P. Morgan Chase. He is making an early morning campaign stop before he heads downtown for another day of his criminal trial, the hush money trial. Because of that trial, the former president has fewer opportunities to make these sorts of campaign stops. This morning, he is talking with union workers. He says that President Joe Biden's economic policies have hurt union workers, and I don't know if you can see him, but he is just on the other side of this SUV in front of us. The former president's supporters have been waiting for his arrival. We have heard them chanting USA. We've seen some people wearing shirts with his mugshot that says "not guilty." We've seen plenty of those red MAGA hats this morning. Again, the former president heading back downtown later on today for another day in his criminal trial. He had wanted to be at the Supreme Court today. The Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments over his claim that he should be immune from prosecution for his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. But the judge in his criminal case here, Juan Merchan, says that he is not allowed to not be in court today. And there you see the former president. You have a good view of him surrounded by Secret Service agents. So there's sort of an interesting split screen that will be happening today. Not only the criminal trial here in Lower Manhattan, former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker is expected to be back on the stand talking about he basically coordinated with the Trump campaign in 2016 to keep negative stories. As the Supreme Court is hearing those oral arguments on whether the former president should be immune from prosecution. And then late yesterday in Arizona, several of the former president's associates, including Rudy Giuliani and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, were indicted for their role in trying to overturn Arizona's results in the 2020 election. So there have been a ton of legal developments really all across the country. And so you can imagine that former President Trump's attention will be divided, I guess, equally today between New York City, Washington, where the Supreme Court is meeting, and then he also will have his eye on Arizona. We expect that the former president will come over and speak to us after he greets his supporters. You see him taking pictures and signing some of those red MAGA hats. On the side of those hats, you see 45 and 47, of course, signifying not only the fact that he was the 45th president, but the fact that he's hoping to be the 47th. So much about this campaign has been unprecedented. And again, we expect that the former president will be doing more of these early morning campaign stops. He has fewer opportunities, as I talked about. Wednesday is the only off day in his trial, so he has to campaign either on weekends, on Wednesdays, or in these early morning hours before heading downtown. Has to get permission from Judge Juan Merchan to miss the trial. The former president's coming over. We'll see if he says anything. See if he's. We're trying to listen in and see what he has to say.
Be careful, please don't put your battery. Amazing show of affection. I think we given me great support. They're really amazing. They're very, you know what? They're very, very talented people. They don't get the credit for it. They have very few people can do what they do. We used to do 3 floors a week in concrete. And it was guys like this that did it, so it's very amazing.
Did you know about the...
When you thought of David Pecker's testimony so far, when was the last time you spoke to him?
No, he's been very nice. I mean, David's been very nice. He's a nice guy.
Did you know, Mr. President, did you know...
What's that? Well, we have a big case today. This judge isn't allowing me to go. We have a big case today in the Supreme Court on presidential immunity. A president has to have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you just have a ceremonial president. You won't have a
Did you know about the payment to Stormy Daniels? Did you know about the payment?
Very talented.
Did you know about the payment to Stormy Daniels?
The payment to Stormy Daniels, which of course is at the heart of his hush money trial downtown. Prosecutors believe that he engaged in a criminal conspiracy and kept the nature of those payments to Stormy Daniels out of the news during the 2016 campaign. So former President Trump continues to greet his supporters here. Dan and Tashani, I'll throw it back to you as we stay live on him.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much. Again, that's former President Donald Trump meeting with some supporters out in Midtown today before his criminal trial in Lower Manhattan.